This is going to be a 1 year review, year and a half review of my 30,000 pound deck over dump trailer from Texas Pride. This is a 30,000 pound unit, 20 foot long, 8 foot wide. This particular one has been derated to 25.9, so 25,900 pound GVWR. That is to keep it under the weight for federal excise tax. There's an additional 12% tax above 26,000 pounds. So, in the interest of this video and giving my thoughts on it, I paid right around $30,000 for this trailer, as you see it, and I'll show you the different features and show you what cost extra, because I think the standard price is right around $18,000, I want to say, for this trailer, and then there's some options that got it up pretty spendy pretty quick. So I'll just kind of start by giving it a walk around, and then we'll share some thoughts. So in the bed, you got a pretty standard gooseneck hitch, nothing special, works just fine. That is an 18-ply spare tire. Here we have the Honda 390, the hydraulic power pack. That was a big bit of added expense to the trailer. Totally worth it though. Would not, honestly, I'll probably never own another dump trailer without a gas-driven pump. Here you have the control for that. Just the regular Honda generic key to start it. Here you have the tarp control for the US tarp up on top. That is one of my things I don't love about the trailer, but it's a nice feature. Some little problems, I'll get into that. Got your jack handle. That's one of the only upgrades I did not opt for, was the hydraulic jacks on it. Looking back, for what I spent, what was another $1,000–1,200 to get that? But wish I had it, but I don't. Under here is the electric over hydraulic brakes. That's the controller for that, and then the hard brake line that goes back to the axles. And then here is this is just a battery for the tarp and lights, and it might feed some power to this. I'm not entirely sure, but I know this is where you would usually have the KTI pump. And then in here, I don't know if you can see it, is the onboard battery charger. I have never had to plug this in, and it just charges off the truck. I believe it's a 12-inch I-beam. It's a heavy trailer, I know that. I want to say it weighs somewhere between 9,500 and 10,000 pounds empty. But we'll continue going down the trailer. So down here, this is one of the hydraulic lines that feeds through here and feeds down. I've tried pulling that line up, but that is where that line wants to rest. It's never been an issue. The protective covering on it's not worn, so I'm not too worried about it, but I don't love how low it hangs down. These jacks are spring-loaded as well. So you got your tarp up there. This is the electric motor for the tarp right here, and then you've got a double cord that runs down underneath the frame and down here to then run back up the frame, but we'll get to that in a minute. Tarp arm, it's got a rub rail up here with stake pockets, which I guess if you were doing tree work maybe and needed taller sideboards would be good, but I have no need for a rub rail up there. If anything, this because of how that tarp rolls, this does occasionally snag on it, but that's really neither here nor there. Here we have one of the ramps. These ramps were a disappointment in my mind with this trailer. Those are 6-foot ramps. They weigh about 100 pounds each. They are heavy, and they are basically useless because this trailer sits right about 3 foot tall, and your load angle is so steep by the time you put those ramps out that it's damn near useless. The first time I put them out, they didn't even touch the ground. They would you hook them on right here. I'll pull one of them out and show you, but they didn't even touch the ground. They were hovering about 4 inches. So coming down here, we've got the two 15,000 pound axles. I upgraded to 18-ply tires. These are 17.5s. These tires have been great. I looked on the truck today. It has a mileage counter for the trailer. Right around 7,500 miles. They show little to no wear. They've been great. They don't flex, they don't deform. You can back up and kind of do whatever you need to, and they're never doing anything weird. These tires have been great. Glad I paid the money for the 18 ply upgrade. What I do not like is these valve stems. These valve stems on here are nearly impossible to get an air chuck onto. I'm trying to find where the other one is. But yeah, you can't get a 45 and straight air chuck on there properly. You can kind of get a flexible air chuck on there if you reach in between and try to squeeze your hand in there to get it to fit there. It's not great. That is one thing I do not particularly care for about this trailer. I'm thinking about getting one of those equalizer things that then goes on the lug nut and one valve stem for both tires, but they're about $100 a piece, so I haven't done that yet. It's a greasable Zerk in there. Hit that every couple thousand miles. Have not had a problem. And then right back here, this is that double cord for the trailer tarp. The only real problem I've had with this trailer, and I'll give major props to Texas Pride because they took care of it quick. They got me parts sent out, is that this cable from the factory had been run like over this piece right here and got pinched between the bed and the frame rail. Ended up shorting out in the motor. I went to use the tarp one day, the motor would not turn off. So it's just sitting there burning itself up. I was able to disconnect the battery and figured out what the problem was here. They sent me, I got on the phone with them because this was right after I got the trailer. They sent me warranty parts, no problem. Well, they sent the parts directly from US Tarp, and US Tarp did not include a new cable, so I was able to get the cable fixed, and then I had the extra parts I needed to, because at the time I thought the motor shorted out, but the Texas Pride took great care of it. So props to them. Around the back, got your 4-foot door. This is just a regular barn door. I didn't do any spreader gate or anything like that. One thing I did is I had the keepers with the chain on them. We're gonna lose. So open it up, swing the door back. There's the latch. I was skeptical at first. They seem to be held up just fine. So, like I said, it's 8 foot wide, 20 foot deep, 4 foot tall sides. I was originally going to order shorter sides, but per Texas Pride, they couldn't do the shorter sides with the roll-up tarp. So, I like the roll-up tarp better than shorter sides. So it's a little more difficult to load. I do tend with the skid steer, especially with the 317 Deere, I tend to load a little heavier to this side when you load a little heavier to whichever side you're loading from. When I had that rental 331, that loaded a little better to center, but it does tend to load a little to one side. I feel like if I had the shorter sides, I might be able to push it a little bit and get it where it needs to be, but it's not been a problem yet. There's 3 D-rings on each side, center, forward, and back. I've only hauled one piece of equipment, a little 3.5 ton mini excavator with it. I mean, they're not in the greatest spot in the world, but they work. Like I said, these are the where you hook the ramps onto. I'll get one out here in a minute and show you. And then here's just the latch for the gate. My only complaint about this, and this is pretty standard on every dump trailer I've had, stuff builds up in there and makes it hard to close. Alright, so here is one of the ramps, and like I said, that thing probably weighs, if it's not 100 pounds, it's close. So it hooks on just like that, and on a traditional dump trailer that's not a deck over, this 6-foot ramp would probably be just fine. However, you can see here, and like I said, I have used it a few times for a mini excavator, but as it sits like that, this is just barely touching the ground. It's not even actually touching the ground. First time I got them out, it probably sat about like that. So that was, don't love that. I definitely don't love taking the skid steer up something like that, especially being a track machine and then having that breakover right there. I still move the skid steer on the flatbed trailer, switch it out, and use this for just hauling dirt. But that's the ramp. That is probably my biggest complaint about this trailer. Long term, I mean, there was a little problem with the tarp when I first got it, but that got resolved. That is my biggest complaint about that trailer, this trailer, long term. If I were to buy this trailer again, I would, this is a 20 foot, I would order a 16 foot. No ramps, and it would just be strictly for hauling material. If I did it again though, I might also look at a roll-off in a, you know, 25.9 or a 30,000 pound setup, because I've seen they now have some like flatbed attachments for roll-offs. Might look at that, because I am looking for a deck over flatbed now to replace that trailer. So let me put that away, and I will show you. I'll lift it up and I will show you the axles on it. Okay, so I got the ramp back. Doors are open. You got to make sure the doors are latched, or you'll bend the hinges. I've done that on a different dump trailer, but I'll show you now. Here is the control for the tarp. So you've got that for close the tarp, and this is what I meant, where it'll hang up on this side. But you just give it a little push, and it'll break that tension. Just hit the close button, and it'll unwind. However, you can't close it all the way with the doors open. The arms will hit that door before it goes all the way down. And that's what I'm saying. If someone can figure out how to fix that, or give me any hints you have to fix that problem right there, I'd appreciate it, because that is as closed as it gets. So to start it, it's all electric start from right here. I just had it running, so I shouldn't need the choke. There it goes. Sometimes if it hasn't run for a while, you'll have to just flick the choke. It'll start right up, and then turn it off and open the choke, and it'll raise right up. It has a 1 gallon gas can. I put premium in it. I don't know if that's needed, but like I said, it doesn't run every day, so I do. It's a simple up-down lever. And that's all that is. It raises nearly as fast loaded as it does empty. It really does not care. It just goes up, and it's far faster than an electric. And there's no worrying about batteries or killing batteries if you're running multiple loads in a day, which I've done before. So underneath here, safety stand if I'm going to be underneath it. Not that I want it to fall out of the way, but here you can see the hard brake line that goes all the way back, and then your electrical, and then this is the cable for the tarp. Runs down this frame rail. You got your hydraulics going to the cylinders right here. One of these cylinders does top out just a touch faster than the other one. I don't know if you can see it in the video. It's done that every dump I've ran through it, and I figure it just is what it is. So coming down here, then you can see the hard brake lines. They've got just a little flex line right at the end right there. So it works. They work really good. I definitely would not order this trailer without the disc brakes, the electric over hydraulic brakes on it. You can kind of see the disc brake in there. But yeah, definitely that is my favorite feature on this this trailer, and it will stop this trailer. That being said, you know this trailer's there. I'm pulling this with a 2023 F350 one-ton truck, 6.7, the regular 6.7, not the high output. with the lowest gear ratio. I want to say it's the 410 gears. The truck was bought to tow this trailer. That being said, the trailer's heavy by itself. You know it's there. I mean, empty, I get like 9 miles to the gallon with this trailer because it's a brick. And if you have a newer diesel truck, you know you'll drink the death as well. That being said, I know it's a 30,000 pound trailer. I try to keep it to that 25.9. When I load, I kind of load based off of a 25.9 or 25,900 pound load, a legal load, which does equate to about 9.5 to 10 tons of actual payload, which is pretty good behind a 1-ton truck, and legal. That's I've scaled it before, ran it through a cat scale. I somehow managed to get right at 25.9, 26,000, right there on the trailer axles. Still had about 2,500 pounds left. I think I was only at like 7,500, 8,000 pounds on the rear axle of the truck. This truck has a 10,000 pound rear axle, so it could get 10 tons or a touch more legal if it was balanced out perfect. What I've concluded though from running loads out of the pit, from what I've scaled, the 1 or 2 loads I've run across the scale, I can get between 10 and 12 skid steer buckets in it with my 317, which works out to about 8 cubic yards, give or take. I really wouldn't load more than that on it because, like I said, this is just a 1-ton truck. This is just hydraulic brakes. It's a lot, and you will not stop quick. You got to be really paying attention driving this with this much weight on it. When you, I've scaled out right at around 38.5, 39,000 pounds gross from the scale house at the pit, and it's you know it's there. But this is far cheaper for the occasional user like myself than buying a single axle dump truck or an old tandem or something like that. I mean, the insurance is only a few bucks a month on the trailer itself, and that's just for theft coverage, roadside coverage, that type of stuff. And then it's just the truck versus needing to nearly be into a commercial auto policy or a commercial truck policy with a dump truck of any sort. So those are my thoughts on this trailer after having it for about 1.5 years. If I did it again, I would do basically just a 16-foot with no ramps. That would really be the only thing I'd change about this trailer. And I might spend the money on the hydraulic jacks. That would be nice, but that's kind of just a luxury. That wasn't, I don't know. I was spending enough on it, didn't need to spend any more. Like I said, it was right about $30,000. That was the majority of that upgraded cost. I think the 18 ply tires added about 400 bucks, and then the electric over hydraulic, I want to say that was over $2,000 to add that feature, which I wouldn't touch this trailer without electric over hydraulic brakes. So hope you found this helpful, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments and I will try to do my best to get you an answer. Thanks for watching.